Okay, go ahead.
Our first session is about true friends slash camp friendship. And we have three people talking today about that for the first half hour. So each person will have about 7 minutes with a couple minutes for each if you have any questions. And Kayla Olson will be starting out telling us about giving us an overview of True Friends. And she is the hospitality and retreats manager at Camp Friendship. And she's been a Women of Today member for 10 years. And she's also my daughter. And then Amy Pumper will be speaking. She's our chairman of the board, and she will give us a little history of True Friends Camp Friendship and their history with Women of Today. And then at the end, I will talk a little bit about the opportunity we have coming up on April 5th. So Kayla, you can take it away. I don't know where she went.
I think she's muted. Hang on, trying to find her.
She was on there.
Kayla Olson. Yeah, she's on here.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now we
Yeah,
can.
Oh, it looks like my photo and video aren't working. Oh, wait. Okay.
there you go.
Perfect. Sorry. All right. So my name is Kayla. Thank you for having me today. To tell you a little bit more about True Friends. So True Friends is a Minnesota-based nonprofit organization. Our mission is to provide life-changing experiences that enhance independence and self-esteem for children and adults with disabilities. Our programs include summer camp, retreats, respite, team building, therapy and adaptive riding, and a travel program that we just started up again this year for the first time since 2020. We have three different camp locations. We have Camp Friendship in Annandale, which is where I work. And then we have Camp Courage in Maple Lake, and then Camp Edenwood in Eden Prairie. Through these three sites, we do serve over 25,000 individuals annually through our different programs. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about each of those programs that we do have, starting with summer camp, which is our biggest one. Summer camp programs welcome individuals and disabilities, again, of all ages. We do have our summer camp sessions in June, July, and August, serving hundreds of campers. Many of our campers have come for many years, with some of our older campers actually having attended camp for decades, which is pretty cool. What's unique about True Friends is that the majority of our staff in the summer are actually international staff, coming from many different countries around the world. We usually have around 150 international staff each summer. And then we do hire those people to be camp counselors, kitchen staff, housekeeping staff, and even some of our leadership staff. So it's safe to say summer is by far our busiest time of the year because we have staff living on site. It's back-to-back camp sessions, and we are serving 3 meals a day, 7 days a week for 3 months. So it's very busy, but it is a lot of fun. But when it's not summer, we have what we call retreat season. And during retreat season, we welcome any and all groups that want to rent our facilities. So basically, we kind of turn into a camp Airbnb, if you will. And sorry, just one second. So yeah, we do welcome a lot of different church groups, college organizations, and clubs. Because we are able to provide large meeting spaces and additional facilities like a gym and a waterfront area, in addition to just providing the cabins in which people stay. We are able to accommodate groups as small as 10 and up to about 300 people at Camp Friendship. It's about 200 at Camp Courage and around 75 at Camp Edenwood at any time. So it's still very busy during the school year as well. Our other four programs are respite, team building, therapy and adaptive riding, and travel. Those all take place throughout the year. So a little bit more about respite. We have a weekend and a weekday program where we welcome individuals with disabilities who have direct support professionals working with them. Our respite provides short-term relief for children and adults ages 5 and up. And then we are able to give, families and caregivers basically a much needed break while offering our participants recreation opportunities, leisure, education. And then our respite program is currently offered at Camp Friendship and Camp Edenwood. And then our therapy and adaptive riding program is going to be based out of Camp Courage, and that offers individuals the opportunities to receive occupational therapy utilizing a horse. Our last two programs are team building, which is kind of like retreats where anyone is able to schedule team building events. Team building is commonly booked by our school groups and teams that will also be attending like a retreat weekend. And then we offer a variety of activities, most of which are going to be on our outdoor challenge courses. The last program being travel. Our travel program provides life-changing travel opportunities for individuals with disabilities, with both in-state opportunities and actually opportunities all over the country traveling to different places. So that's kind of a summary of all of our different programs. Do we have any questions about those programs or anything else that anyone would like to know about True Friends? I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. Otherwise, that is all I have.
Debbie, I actually have a question.
Yeah.
This is Debbie. The attendees that are coming, are they usually somehow, is their attendance paid for, or do you do scholarships, or is there organizations that support them?
For summer camp specifically?
Yeah.
Yep, so it's a little bit of both. On our website, there's like, it'll explain all the different ways that camp can be paid for. So some is like funding through the state. And then, yeah, there's different like scholarships and programs as well that people can take advantage of if they don't want to pay for that personally.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, what is the normal age of someone going to the camp, or is there one?
Honestly, it really varies. Sometimes we have programs that are specific, like it's like a set age range. But really, like we will have anywhere from like we'll have 5-year-olds and we'll have 75-year-olds. So it really is a pretty nice mix. And then just like based on each cabin, we just separate like by ages and then gender. So yeah, there's not really like I guess a common like age overall, which is kind of nice.
Is there a common like disability set or situation, or is it kind of all over the gamut?
Again, it's kind of all over. We have probably just as many people with physical disabilities as like developmental disabilities. So again, there's a pretty good mix there, I would say overall.
A couple of years ago, Monticello had a Women of Today retreat out there for the weekend that Kayla helped us set up, and that was really a fun, nice thing to do. We had 2 cabins. How many do we have, Kayla? About 20 some people? Probably.
I think we had 20.
And we had, and all the meals were covered. Or no, we did not all of them. We did like 5 meals, but it was really reasonable, and they had really good food, and we had a really nice time. We also made tie blankets, so they let us use another room there to have all our stuff set up in. And that was really handy too, because we could just leave it there. Okay, Kayla, thank you.
Yes,
We
thank
will-
you.
And if anyone has any questions for her, they would like further information, you can reach out to her through Women of Today, or else, Kayla, do you want to put in your chat what your contact information is?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, thanks. And next we'll move on to Amy Pumper, and she's going to give us a little bit of history of Women of Today and their connection with Camp Friendship / True Friends.
Okay. The Mrs. JC's JC Women of Today have had a great history with Camp Friendship Ventures, True Friends since 1965. One of the earliest programming areas was the Minnesota Association for Retarded Citizens. When the Minnesota Association for Retarded Citizens purchased the Beecher Resort for use as a camp, the J.C. women were involved in donating funds for the purchase of one cabin, landscaping of the beach area, construction of a safety fence around the main campgrounds, and remodeling the lodge dining hall. In the fall of 1966, the dining hall building burned, standing by the original commitment to the Minnesota's first camp for mentally retarded individuals. The J.C. women began raising money to put Camp Friendship back in operation. In 1969-70, State President Jackie Johnson initiated a fundraiser called Flames of Hope Candles, with proceeds going to build a boathouse. Next slide. At Camp Friendship. Betty Crocker coupons were collected to help pay for power lines to go into the camp. You can, I think, go to the next one too. The waterfront building, circa 1970, the camp's waterfront building was constructed early in 1970 with funds donated by the J.C. women. The building provided toilets and showers for campers, storage areas for the waterfront, and camping equipment. In 1972-73, the combined efforts of the J.C.'s and J.C. women resulted in building a winterized cabin for campers. The J.C. women raised the funds necessary to build the Blue Huron cabin or boathouse. Hubert H. Humphrey joined State President Carissa Roan in the dedication of the boathouse. During the dedication, she held up the plaque and a screwdriver and asked Mr. Humphrey if he would like the first screw. He was speechless and finally responded by saying that he had never been speechless in his life. You can next slide. In 1978, the camp infirmary was remodeled, including making semi-private sleeping areas and storage areas for medications. The remodeling was done as a memorial to Hubert H. Humphrey in respect for his efforts on behalf of persons who were mentally retarded. Other projects completed through the years include fire extinguishers being placed in cabins and on campgrounds. $1,520 was raised to purchase a pontoon boat and outboard motor. Outdoor lighting was installed along the camp's pathways, purchase of boat docks, tents, sleeping bags, and other equipment. Many chapters responded to needs lists by donating furniture items and specific items of clothing. Collections of crafts and Campbell soup labels were also done. Cleanup was done for several years by the Straight River chapter and friends. Next slide. In the fall of 1995, members from the Minnesota Women of Today gathered to begin the construction of the boathouse and remodeling a building that would make a big difference in the lives of hundreds of children with disabilities. The organization began raising funds 5 years earlier to renovate and upgrade the lakeside building and waterfront area at Camp Friendship. The renovation was completed to meet the needs of the growing number of clients who use wheelchairs. Next slide. Women of Today secured donated materials for the project, raised more than $20,000 for the materials that were not donated, and recruited family and friends and other volunteers to do the construction and remodeling. Tasks included installing skylights, constructing a 1,000 square foot decking around the building, re-roofing, tearing off old siding, and putting on new siding and making bathrooms and shower areas more accessible. Over 500 hours were put into the renovation by Women of Today members. Our rededication ceremony was held on June 29, 1996, with Lieutenant Governor Joanne Benson serving as the keynote speaker. You can do the last slide. Oh, I guess there's more than that. Over the years, chapters and members have sponsored camperships, donated funds, and wish list items in addition to the work on the lakefront area. What an impact our organization has had on Camp Friendship, Friendship Ventures, True Friends. We've had an awesome 60-year partnership, and I bet we can make it another 40 years at least. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions about that?
Does anybody want to share about their experience or their chapter's experience? Leslie, I saw
I-
you making a comment.
Well, I can say that in the past, we had President State Delegate retreats out at the camp in Annandale, and it was an overnight, and we had the food. We got together in the buildings and did what we needed to do. It was a great way to support them too. We would make donations when we went there at those retreats.
In the early 90s, Kayla Herman was the state program manager for True Friends at that time, of course, Camp Friendship in Annandale. And it was open to the entire state, but it happened to be that weekend in the early 90s where it was 50 below in Embarrass, Minnesota. And so there wasn't much attendance, but two families, mine and Jackie and Mark Ritter's families, spent the weekend there. And they did take the snowmobiles out a little bit, and one of my kids stuck her tongue on a pole in the playground. So it was it was an interesting weekend, but we had a lot of fun playing cards and the girls playing dolls inside for the weekend.
Are there buildings still available for use like that? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how many they accommodate?
I
Kayla
think,
would know that.
yeah,
Huh?
Kayla would
Kayla
know
will know
that.
that.
At Camp Friendship, we can have about 300 people out at one time between the 17
Oh, wow. Okay. Thanks, Kayla.
Yeah.
I used to go there before I was in Women of Today or even knew what Women of Today was. As a special ed teacher, we'd take students there, groups of students every year, and we'd stay 2 nights in several of the cabins always in May, end of May, so it was pretty nice out. And I always have really good memories of that from my first years of teaching in the 1980s.
Fun.
I used to go out there as with their president's retreat, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed going out there.
The reason, just for a little context, when we moved the President State Delegate retreat back in the late, I guess it was Shelley Strusick's year was probably the first year we did it. We moved the President State Delegate retreat from October-ish time after Fall State Convention, so more middle of the year, up to we try now to have it late July, early August. When we moved that, as Kayla mentioned, the facility is much busier in the summer and much less available, and the cost went up significantly, and so it kind of became cost prohibitive for us to manage that, and where we thought we would get people to attend, because the cost would have been much more like attending a convention than where we have President State Delegate Retreat now. That's just context for why we no longer meet out there. We felt like it was more important to have presidents and state delegates get together earlier in the year than later in the year. Always open to revisiting that if there's a strong demand to do something. I think we really like the timing of where President's Day Delegate Retreat is right now, but it would just mean if we ever wanted to go back there, it would probably mean it just costs more for that event than where we're at right now.
We could do a mid-year there maybe someday.
Yeah, something to look at. I don't have to plan those anymore, but yeah, Michelle, something to look at.
Hey, if anyone has any other questions or want more information, you can put that in the chat and we can get back to you. And then I'll do the last part. Tanya, do you have that slide for me? Okay. This is basically just an overview of what I know Sarah Rockstead handed these out at Winter State for FYI for people. So it's the week before we have the day of service, but it's a really good opportunity to go out to Camp Friendship on April 5th and to help start cleaning for them so that they can get ready for summer. And Kayla shared with me some of the activities would include like vacuuming. The buildings have been closed up all winter, so they just basically need to be opened up and freshened up for the staff to come in that work from all around the country. So sweeping, vacuuming, dusting, cleaning windows in the bathrooms and wiping down appliances would be the main jobs. And she thought it would only take us a couple hours if we had at least 20 people participating. So and then also you can see that there's success points for that if you bring 2 or more members from your chapter. And Sarah will be participating in that. So you can email her. As of now, she does not have anyone that has responded that they're going to go. So if you send her an email at cc@mnwt.org, she will get that information. And it's 10 o'clock in the morning start. And then she's going to have some prizes for people who come. And also thought about maybe going, if people want to go to lunch afterward, or there's some nice restaurants around Annandale, some fun places. So she thought she'd check into that too if people were interested. You can also send any information to me at pvp@mnwt.org if you want more information, or if you know you have some members that'll be able to go. And just list the names of who's attending and the chapter that you're from.
Will there be some carpool opportunities just in case? Since
Oh,
it's
yeah.
quite far.
Yeah, that could be arranged. I can talk to her how she would like, to Sarah, how she may want to do that, or if any of you know you want to go and make arrangements with other people. We could probably maybe I don't know, put an email out to everybody saying who's attending. Tevian, do you have any other way we might want to handle that?
And I think the best way would just be to arrange it within your chapter. Try to get a couple of people, or even within your district, if depending on what district you're in, and meet up that way.
Okay.
So maybe if you're interested and want to try to organize that, whether you want to do it through your chapter or if you want to try to pull from your district, maybe contact your DD and see if they can help organize.
Right. Or even if Sarah gets a list together and between she and I, we can share that with people if we know they're from the same district, if they're going to, so we can help with that.
Just reach out and say, here, who's all going.
Yeah. And maybe I can suggest she does that anyway, just so everyone knows who's going. And then if there's other people that want to attend that maybe weren't going to go, would like to go. And we were out there a couple of years ago from Monticello and cleaned the boathouse. And there's different activities to do based on what you're able to do. So some people, they worked at a different pace or a different level. And we had some of the husbands out there and they were actually cutting branches and getting rid of the brush and stuff, which that was above and beyond, but they were able to do it. So we did it, but they'll put it pretty much toward whatever you're able to do, and she'll have all the supplies and stuff will be there and ready for us. Kayla, do you have anything to add to that? Is she still on?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that really just whatever, is willing to be done is great. So, it doesn't matter if you don't get through absolutely everything, but just any help is appreciated just because there's so many buildings that we have to get ready for the summer.
How many buildings do you have out there obviously we're just going to be doing a couple, but how many have to get prepared for the summer?
Well, there's technically 3, but there only would be 1 that we're working on just because we got like a last minute group that's actually staying in the other 2. So we had to get those opened up already. So there's just like 1 main building that the leadership staff stays in, and then also the boathouse.
Okay.
So yeah, it'd be those main 2 areas that we'd be focusing on.
Does anyone have any other questions or information or comments?
No, but thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate it. I think this was something that we have not talked a lot about in the last several years, and it was nice to hear the history and what's going on there now. I know it's evolved over time, and I really appreciate you coming on, especially you, Kayla, to share. All right. Thanks, Michelle.
Yep, you're welcome.
All
Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me today.
Do you want us signing in again if we're staying for the next session, or are we good?
You're good if you're already signed in. So if anybody new has popped on and they haven't signed in on the chat, go ahead and put your name and your chapter in the chat.
I do want to make this Tubby again. I want to make one comment. If you are planning to attend, make sure you guys reach out to Sarah Rockstead, the Community Connections SPM, and let her know. That way, I mean, if nobody is signing up, then we could be tempted not to go. But I want to make sure we don't do that, and then a handful of people show up. So we're happy to have anybody and everybody. We just want to know who's coming.
And you can also bring, it doesn't have to be all Women of Today members. You could bring a family member, a spouse, an older child that's able to help.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
Yeah, kids that need service hours and things like that.
Right.
Hi, this is Cindy with Blooming Prairie. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I'm just catching up because I came on late, but yes, maybe you guys already mentioned it, but Gary and Cherry from the Owatonna area, they had done this for years. And I mean, even with them being sort of removed from Women of Today, that was something that they held close and dear to their heart. So I'll try to reach out to them because that's something that they still continue to do, and they would bring a group. So yeah, they'd cut down trees. Again, not saying that we would, but that's some things that they would do in cleaning. It was wonderful.
Good idea, Cindy.
All right, so I think we'll go ahead and transition. Tanya, did you want to record
Yeah, I'm still recording.
next session? Oh, you still are. Okay. So as a lot of you know, we have relaunched the Minnesota Women of Today website in kind of a new fashion. So Tanya is going to walk us through some of the basics and where you can get some of the kind of the basic information that people have been asking for, and let you know kind of where we are in the rollout process. Not everything is up yet, but I'm going to turn it over to Tanya so she can walk us through this.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so when you first pull up the website, this is the page you get. It's our landing page. It's got the rolling pictures from the chapters on it, just like our old website. And then it just has a little bit of information here. If anybody's interested in Women of Today, here's how they can click to get information to send to us. And then here is our footer. Okay.
And Tanya, if they want to update their chapter picture, they can send that to.
Send it to
send a
me.
new picture. To you, to the marketing VP.
Yep, either one.
Either one, right?
Yep, either one. And then we will get it updated on the website. Okay, so as you see, there is these words up on the top here. They are all clickable. And if they have a drop down, it will give you another list that you can click on any of these things. So like the About Women of Today, if you click on that, it will bring you to the page and it talks about some of the women of today items here. This is where like our creed is, our mission statement, some information on the United States Women of Today, the United States Creed.
And you can click on those little arrows.
Yep, on these little arrows, it'll give you information. And like when you're hovering over like here, it says like the contact the chapter service center. If it's blue and you hover over it and it kind of changes the color a little bit, you can click on it and it'll bring you this one. I think, I'm not sure if this one brings you to the to an
That
email.
one I'll email the chapter service center.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It brought to the email for the chapter service center. So you can kind of see when it changes colors. If you're hovering over it, you can probably click on it to go somewhere else. Here's the history of the Minnesota Women of Today. I'm not going to go through everything, but I just want to kind of give you guys a little bit of an overview here. We got the new picture from Winter State of the past presidents that were there. Our frequently asked questions page has some questions on it and answers, but it's still a work in progress. So we will be adding more to this. The next, also the Key Woman, I wanted to bring that up too. Key Woman Club is under this section also. And here is like, if you click here, you can get to the email to email the Key Women. Sorry, I accidentally clicked it. I didn't want to do that. Here are the different forms that you can click on to an email me form or the PDF for nominations for the Key Woman. Up here are the chapters. So if you click on this, it'll bring you to all of our chapters in the Minnesota Women of Today. It'll tell you their address, their meeting place. If you hover over and click on it, it will give you like directions or a map to where that meeting place is. It gives you the meeting date and time. So if you're looking at this and it is not correct, please let me know so we can get it updated. Here, this little globe looking thing is for the websites for the chapters if they have a website. And then this is the Facebook. If you click on them, you can go to their Facebook page or their website. Here is the district that they're in, and there is their chapter email. So let's say you're wanting to email Aiken. You can click on here and it'll bring you up to an email to be able to email Aiken. The next is our events. You can click on the events or you can go to the drop down and pick which one you would like to look at. So like the training and webinars, I'm going to pick on that one. And here tells you which webinar we have. This was our information for today. The location of where it'll be. This one was online. Here is where you can register to get the Zoom link. And then I have added the Zoom link for tonight. So for the June one, I will have the same thing. will have the registration link, and then I will have a Zoom link added to it. So you can, in case you didn't get it emailed to you and you would like to be able to attend, you can go onto the website and get into the Zoom that way. If there is a flyer for registration, it'll be here. And as you notice, if it is blue, it's in there, like the registration flyer is already there. If it is black, it is going to be added. It just hasn't been yet. Calendars are here for under the events for the statewide calendar and then exec council calendar. So if you click on this, this will give you the statewide calendar of things that are going on throughout the year. The next here is
Can you show the convention page, Tanya?
I'll go back just a second.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, the convention page, if you click under events and then go to conventions, here's where our convention page is. Our next convention is annual convention in May at Arrowwood in Alexandria. Here is the registration form and flyer, the hotel information. We are working on the convention overview, so that will be linked here shortly. We are working on the calendar also, which will be linked in here shortly, so you'll have the schedule for the day. When the Facebook event is created, then it will be also linked here. Down a little further, you'll see that we have the U.S. convention information right here.
Hey, Tanya, can I have a question? I have a question to ask you. This is Kathy Snyder. So is it the chapter's choice whether or not to have an online registration link or who's ever hosting it?
Yeah.
Not anymore. No, it's
No.
not.
Okay.
Not an online registration. Every
Okay.
convention will now going forward have an online registration.
That's what
Not-
I was wondering. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Not the chapter's choice.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry about that.
So is it going to start? Is it going to start? Is it?
We
It's
will
not going
get
to be for
one up.
this.
We will get one up for this one.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I will work on that tonight then to get it up for them.
Thank you.
And then we have the fall state here. So they will be, all the conventions that we have information on will be on this page. And I can go to committee meetings too, just because that's coming up this weekend. So the committee documentation is right here. Oh, it's taking me to the Zoom. Sorry. I shouldn't have clicked on that. But that'll take you right to the Zoom link to get into the meeting on Sunday. And then if there's anything else, like for the finance or whatever, sometimes we have to contact the person in charge to get like the Zoom links. Tevian, do you know, do we want to put them on for, well, this one's over, but for like the March one?
We can talk about that. Like
Okay.
how quickly we put them up. I don't want to put them up too far in advance so we don't have people crashing Zoom meetings like the US had the other day. So
Right. Okay, then I will go to foundation. Here is our foundation page. Is a little bit of information about the foundation, their officers and subcommittee chairs. And then here you'll find their chapter information packets, the links to them. Here's their forms. PDF, email me. Some of them might have also a Word document form. So they're all out here. And then here's where you can find the Raise Right fundraiser information that they are promoting. And then also down here for the foundation, you can see their different meetings that they have. And the minutes that we have already that have been approved are put out here. And so they are under the, it looks blue, where you can click on. And then if they're black, we haven't put them on here yet. This one hasn't been approved yet, so it's not out there. And then the last section is our members homepage. So if you click on the word members homepage, it will bring you to what we used to have, which was that the head on the old website that you would click on, like the lady's head. That is the same. Well, you should be able to find most of the same information here. We also put a link to the Minnesota email page here, so you can, let's say like the chapters, they want to be able to get into their email. This link will bring you to that so you can get in. Exec Council, the foundation, all of them that have the MNWT email. The webinar series information. And then the day at the rink, that was on Sunday. And then here will be some of the third trimester highlights. So you can kind of go through those and look and see what kind of information might be out there. Do you have any questions so far before I continue? Okay, then under the little hovering over, you can go to the publications, which on our old website was called state publications. It is the same thing, but we just have it called publications now. This is where you can find the state plan of action, the state budget, revised budget, the bylaws, policies, copies of the newslet. This is the chapter mailing highlights and our chapter information packets. And then further down, you will find the meeting minutes or reports for like the exec council minutes, the fall business meeting minutes, winter business meeting minutes, and then the committee meeting minutes will be in here. And finance is included in those minutes for each trimester. It's broken out just a little bit different on here than it was before, because we broke it out by trimester for the committee meeting minutes and the minutes for the conventions and exec council meeting minutes. Okay. So state leadership, the chapter management resources, these all can be clicked on also. I will go through them, but I just wanted to let you know that you can click on them. Or if they have the arrow that goes over, that means if you just hover over it and move over, you can get to the next section. So we have each of the positions listed in here. So you can click on president and it'll bring you to President Tevian's page where you'll see her logo, her theme, picture, find her CIPs. Right here is a link to the Facebook page for the administration. If they have, like the membership will have the membership Facebook page or programming Facebook page. When you click on it, it'll bring you right to that Facebook. Then the publications, so her plan of action, her chapter information packets, the CIPs. We have the state plan of action under here. Any of the resources like the state president fast start that will be a PDF and then an email me form. Like I said, some of them might also have a Word form. So if you click on the one that says Word form, it'll bring you up one in the form in a Word format. Here's where you can find the local president monthly report, where you can do the presidential medallion nominations and the presidential pin nominations. And then also her community awards. And
Tina, I just want to make a couple of comments. And I think you were about to click on it, but on each of the staff member pages and such, we tried to really condense down what's on those pages. So you may see this as a lot less forms. We tried to focus on just the forms that people need fairly regularly, not all of the forms, which is why then it has that link. If there's something that you would have associated with president or with chapter management, that's the best place to go, is that chapter management resources page. And so we kind of there's different ones based on where that officer's forms, all of their forms would be, or the ones that go to them. So if you're not finding it here, click on that bottom link, regardless of what officer's page you're on, and you'll most likely find their full list of the form, the form you're looking for is on that other page. The other thing I wanted to call attention to, if you click on our names at the top, where mine says Tevian Sorensen, that will email to our official. When you click on it, it'll pop up an email browser, your email window, and that's how you can email to us. If you hover over it, if you look down in the left corner, it also says what our email address is. So that little gray box, it'll say president. So just wanted to say that didn't go away. I know that was functions that people used before, and that's still there.
And I did forget to mention that if you click on, like sometimes it'll say about the U.S. Women of Today website. If you click on the blue, and I'm not sure if we have it on every one of the pages, but of the staff pages, but if you click on it, it will take you to the U.S. Women of Today's website.
And we tried not to put U.S. forms on the Minnesota page. We tried to give them links, or at least a link back to the U.S. website, so that if they change something, it doesn't then cause it to break on our side. But you can still get there.
Okay, so I will go back here. I'm going to go to, I'll go to executive director page.
Can you just, before you do that, can you just show, you can stay right there on that page, yep. Under the home page. So just show what's under each one of those. You don't have to click on, but if you go under leadership, so under membership, we've got the membership vice president, the chapter management, and the extensions. Under programming, you should have the PVP and all 5 SPMs. They've each got an individual page. Administration is pretty much everybody else except for the chairman of the board and the executive director. So you've got the administrative VP, the finance secretary, parley, and marketing. Tanya, after you do executive director, just show the district directors because that one is, we did change that one up quite a bit.
Yep.
But go over your executive director one.
Okay, so then on the executive director, this is where you'll find the chapter service center hours, mailing address, where you can mail stuff in, the phone number. Here is where we have the link to the US add and change form. So when you have any changes to addresses for members or you have a new member, you click on this, it'll bring up the email me form information that you can fill in, and it'll be emailed right to the specific people that receive it.
And
Again,
that link's on the membership VP's page as well.
yep. And then now that you guys are probably voting on your new board, we have the chapter officer sheet, email me form, PDF, and then the chapter information sheet. So like I showed you the chapters, if any of that information has changed on there, go ahead and fill out the chapter information sheet, and that will come to me so I can get that all changed for you on the website. If you need any information on your 990s, which will be coming up starting in June, if you need requests for the virtual meeting, like a Zoom meeting or something like that, here is a form to fill out, and I can get you links. This Secretary of State or annual renewal form. This
Hey,
is
Tanya, given we've only got a few minutes left,
Oh,
because we want to make sure we start the other one. Can
Yep.
we show the district directors
yeah. I can,
page really quick, and then I want to show those resources pages.
yep. Okay, so district
We-
director.
Yeah, we did consolidate this. So in the past, there had been an individual page by district. Now all of them are listed in one. It's got the district director's name. Again, you can email from there, and it's got all their chapters. And then we didn't link these this time, but it's got links to their Facebook pages as well as then in the new year it'll have as they do their plan of actions and their trimester newsletters, we'll link all that up. So just something I just want to point it out because it is a little different and it's a little more consolidated. And when they put out information, we can add that to each of their pages that way.
Okay.
Do you want to show then those three it also, just so you know, at the top here, because the people had asked for that under district directors, it does have a link to the event page for district meetings. So if you're looking for information on any of the district meetings, that's where it would be posted. And then we've got a link to the district meeting handbook, which I know people had asked for because it has information if you're hosting the district meeting and there, kind of what you're responsible for and how to do that. So both of those are under that DD page.
And the chapter management resources.
Yeah, let's do that one. All three of them kind of work the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, link to the US Women of Today website. And then here are more forms that would be, like Tevian was saying, if you're looking for something maybe for the president and it's not under the president, and you click on the chapter management resources, you could find it in here. There is a bunch of forms that we put together to kind of have them in the same area. So like all the fast starts, the chapter position manuals, success forms, again, the 990 and the Secretary of State. So it's kind of in a couple of places that you can find that.
Then on those other two, if they're more specific to membership or to programming, that's where you're going to find, yeah, why don't you just click on it just to show it real quick.
Yeah.
You've got membership, extensions, orientation, those kind of resources are all here.
Yeah. And then on programming, you will find, if you're looking for the PEP courses, it'll be under the programming and also on the Living and Learning SPM's page too. So you can find that. I'm working on getting a list of all of the courses ready, but here you can look and see what they are also on the rental form. But I want to get a nice form out there to show you what everything is. Because I know a
The
couple.
last one, if you want to go back up to the members homepage, then there is one that is training resources. And this is where we have specific materials, like the leadership toolbox. It's also where we're posting all the links as we get them put out there for the webinar recordings. So you'll be able to go. This isn't where you would register for a training. This is where we will put training resources. We don't have the orientations. I think we'll probably take member orientation off of here because we've got all those on the membership page. But if we were to have a training on, communications or something generic, she's got the leadership toolbox ones, but we were to have, a bigger course on that, or those materials would be out here. The place to then register to take a training like LOTS per se is under events. So I just want to call out there's a difference between finding materials and then where you go to find an actual course that you would sign up for and register for. I don't know if there's anything. We're working on the project library. That'll ultimately be where you find the descriptions for like events or fundraisers like we used to have. We had kind of cleaned those all out, so they're working on it. And then the one thing to call out down at the bottom under exec council resources, because most of these all look the same. We have put, if you want to now or in the future want to file for a staff position or a coordinator's position or something at the state level, or you have expenses to submit, those are farther down under like bidding information and forms. So if you're thinking about doing something on exec council, this is where you would go to find information about that. And then we're building out some links to repositories where we'll have them like stored off in Google Drives where you can find old meeting minutes, the bylaw and policy repositories that Jenny's been putting together this year with all the district and chapter bylaws. Those will be out there. Old copies of plan of actions, things like that. We're working on building those out in Google, and then you'll have links to them. Given that there's only a couple minutes, and I know, Michelle, we want to start on time because we've got a guest speaker. Does anybody have any questions, or if it's going to take any real amount of time, we can just have you direct it to Tanya and she can get back to you. You can always put it in the chat and we can do it that way too.
I had one question. Was there a thought that we're going to have a general search thing where you can put in a word or something and it'll, like the old site had?
Yeah, we're working on that. We just want to make sure it actually kind of gets you to the right places. But there won't be one of those drop downs where you drop down for the form and it takes you to that form. But a search function, yeah.
I had a question about registering for these webinars. If you're going to put the Zoom link out there, why should we even register?
So you get reminders and you get direct. So you'll get the Zoom link emailed to you, and you can register and plan for it.
Yeah.
But it's already going to be on the website.
Like the day before, Bonnie. I mean, we're not putting it out there 6 weeks out.
Okay.
So if you want an email to you, if you want a reminder, if you want to put it in your calendar, the best way to do that is to register.
Okay.
But good question.
Questions? yeah, just let me know if you guys have any other questions. I can always respond to you. And if I need to, I can always give you a call and walk you through something.
Well, my comment was that it must have taken you a long time to decide on the label for the email me form. It just doesn't seem intuitive. For the first time I looked for it, I was looking for, as in the past it was like online. It was an online option, and it just doesn't sound intuitive. But I don't know. Has anybody had any problem with that?
We have our guest speaker ready to go, so if we could move along, that'd be great.
Bonnie, we'll get back to you. Thanks for the feedback.
Okay.
Okay, tonight we have Jim and Terry Johnson as our speakers tonight, and they'll be talking for about 45 or 50 minutes, and we'll allow for about 10 minutes for questions and answers, and they're going to tell their story and share information about Heartstrong Monticello. Welcome, Jim and Terry.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. We're doing this, we're going to do some demo stuff. So I know this looks a little bit different, but we're going to do some demo things as part of our presentation. So we have to give a little bit of space. We are Heartstrong Monticello. We are a nonprofit that we have started in the Monticello community here in Monticello, Minnesota. We have lived in this community for over 25 years. As part of our presentation tonight, we'll explain to you what Heartstrong Monticello is about. We are a 501c3, how we're serving our community and how we're trying to make our community a safer place and prepare more people to deal with sudden cardiac arrest. We want to share this with you because we know that you guys are a service organization as well. And so if what we talk about tonight is of interest to you and it's something that you think you might want to do in your community or have us come out and present, we will come and present. We can either present virtually like this, or we'll come to your community and we'll present there as well, because we really feel called to do this work. We do our presentations at no cost, and that's kind of where we are. Do I have sharing rights? For a presentation?
Tanya can give you.
I got them. So now, all right.
All right, well, that was Jim. Now you get me. So my name is Terry Johnson. We are married, and we are going to talk with you about what is a heart-safe community. A heart-safe community is a designation that Minnesota has, and all of those entities that you see on the screen support that heart-safe community designation. We started Heart-Safe Monticello because of Jim's story as a sudden cardiac arrest survivor, which we will integrate into this abbreviated training session that we will do with you. Our hope is that if you, as a civic organization, are interested in maybe doing something like this in your community and you need some assistance with how to get it started, we would be willing to come out and help that. Or if you want us just to come out with your group, or you want to sponsor a community presentation, just because Monticello is in our name doesn't mean we only present in Monticello. The biggest catalyst behind this, number one, is, like I said, Jim being a sudden cardiac arrest survivor. But then when you go through something like that, and then you look at the statistics and realize that when somebody suffers a sudden cardiac arrest, and we will say how that is different than a heart attack very soon here when we do a little bit of the training part of it. But when they suffer a sudden cardiac arrest and go down in public, out of a hospital. If it happens in a hospital, those people, medical people, are trained to do that. But in public, it's a silent killer because most people are either alone or in their or suffered in their sleep. But if there are bystanders, statistically, only 40% of people start CPR. And statistically, if there's an AED available, only 10% of people use an AED. So the catalyst around this is to build up bystanders who are not medically trained so that they can feel confident to start CPR and use an AED if it's available. With this heart-safe community designation, There are 3 missions with it. And so our presentation tonight, which is going to be a abbreviated form of a full training, will include all 3 of those missions. And so the first mission of a Heart Safe Community designation is to do trainings like this to raise awareness of what a stroke is, how to recognize a stroke, and what you do if someone has a stroke to give them the best chance of survival. What a heart attack is, how to recognize that, and what to do if someone's having a heart attack to give them a best chance of survival. And then what sudden cardiac arrest is, how to recognize it, and what to do and to give them the best chance of survival. So I'm going to start tonight with stroke. Most of you know what a stroke is. It is a blockage and or a bursting of a blood vessel in the brain. So there's a lack of blood circulation to the brain because either it's blocked by plaque or by a clot, or there has been a burst, and so the blood is flowing into the brain tissue as opposed to through the vessels around the brain. Recognizing a stroke comes with an acronym called FAST. Okay, so if you think someone is not acting quite right, to try to determine as close as possible if they're suffering a stroke, the first word or letter of FAST is F, and that is for face. The face starts to droop, but you can ask them to smile. And when you watch them smile, a lot of times it will be a lopsided smile. So it looks like one side is drooping, one side is trying to smile. It doesn't just look right because they just don't have the capacity to run the muscles correctly because they don't have enough blood going through the brain. The A in FAST is for arm weakness. Ask them to raise their arms above their head. Most of the time you'll see one of these 2 things. You will see them raise their arms up and then one arm starts going slowly down. They just can't keep that one side of their body, the strength there. Or you see this, where they can't get them both up and one is a lot lower. The S in FAST is for speech difficulty. Again, they're not having control of the muscles, so they cannot enunciate as well as you and I can enunciate. And so it's going to sound very slurred and maybe even hardly able to understand it. And then the last one is then it's time. If you notice any of those things, it's time to call 911 and get help. Our medical community, our medical researchers have excellent treatments that if you can get them into the hospital within a 3-hour window of them suffering their stroke, they can get these medications into them, and it can basically, for the most part, they will not have ramifications from the stroke, or they will be a lot lessened. One word of caution, most people suffering a stroke will say, I'm going to be fine, I just need to go lay down for a minute. Don't let them do that, because then if they fall asleep, that just narrows that 3-hour window for them. And you just need to get them in. The worst thing that can happen is they'll tell you it's not a stroke, but at least you had it checked out. In recent years, they have added the word B in front of FAST. So FAST stays the same, but B is for different types of strokes. The B is for balance. You will notice difficulty keeping their balance, whether they're standing or when they're walking, they kind of run into the walls or whatever. It's just a stroke happening in a different part of the brain. Or it can be an eye stroke. So they start having problems with their eyes. That's the E in B. So they have problems with their vision. They can lose their peripheral vision. They can get strobe lights going on in their eyes. So all of those B FAST are all signs of a stroke. And the best thing that you and I can do as witnesses to that is get them into the hospital and let the medical professionals evaluate them and get them the medications that they need to rectify that. Jim's going to come in now.
Okay. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, whoever's hosting this, if you can monitor the chat and if there's questions, just jump in and say, what about this? Okay, this doesn't have to be a real formal thing. So if people have questions, please put them in the chat and they can send them our way. Another thing I failed to talk about at the beginning is Terry and I are not medical professionals. That's not who we are. We're professional educators. That's what we spent our time doing. She's recently retired. I'm semi-retired. But we have a group that supports us that has medical professionals as part of it, part of our steering committee. So that's where a lot of what we're sharing with you tonight is coming from. It's based on best practice within the medical field. Now, Terry talked about stroke being a plumbing problem in the brain. Now, on October 16th, 2022, I died. And I really died. Many people assume I had a heart attack. I experienced something called a sudden cardiac arrest. I did not have a heart attack, but many people, like I said, assume that I did. There is a difference between a heart attack and sudden cardiac arrest. And you need to recognize the difference because you are going to respond differently and you will increase the chances of survival by responding the correct way. Like a stroke is a plumbing problem with the brain, a heart attack is a plumbing problem with the heart. It is a blockage of the blood supply to the heart. So when I was a child, my dad had a heart attack. He had blockage in the arteries that were feeding his heart, and part of his heart actually died. That part of the muscle died because it wasn't receiving enough oxygen. And so the only thing you can do for a heart attack victim is call 911. Just like as a stroke, the only thing you can do is call 911. Now, cardiac arrest, which is what I experienced, is very different. And for you as the bystander, and for people in your community who are bystanders, this is where knowledge is king. Because this is where you can truly make a difference beyond calling 911. Sudden cardiac arrest is an electrical problem. We all know that our heart beats, and it is an electrical charge that beats our heart. Unbeknownst to us at the time, it is the best guess of the doctors based on all the testing that they have done. I had a virus that attacked my heart, and it shut down the electrical portion. It mutated the cells that told my heart to beat, and my heart stopped beating. I was dead, okay? And it's sudden cardiac arrest. Sudden is immediate, cardiac is heart, arrest is stop. It happens suddenly. Where somebody with a heart attack might have some different symptoms. You look here, a heart attack victim, they're gonna maybe still be responsive. They can probably talk to you. They're breathing, their heart is beating. They might have pain down their arm. They might have shortness of breath. They might be sweating excessively. They might have all of those symptoms. And if you see that, you need to call 911 and get them to the hospital. They don't need CPR and they don't need an AED. If you start doing CPR on them, it's not going to do any good because their heart's still beating. Okay? It doesn't mean it won't stop at some point, but usually at the onset, the heart is still beating. And an AED, if you hook up an AED to them, it will not shock them because they have a heartbeat. Sudden cardiac arrest is very different. Now, I don't remember anything leading up to my sudden cardiac arrest. I was sitting in our basement on a Sunday afternoon watching a Vikings game. By the way, that's not what killed me. But I was watching a Vikings game. And all of a sudden, in the middle of a conversation with Terry, who was sitting next to me, I stopped talking. I never had any symptoms. I wasn't lightheaded. I wasn't short of breath. There was no pain in my arm. There was nothing. I just stopped talking. My head went to the side. There was a little bit of a gurgle, and I was dead. She can tell you what it was like to be sitting next to me during that time.
As we go into this part, I want to acknowledge that we, as you can see with Jim being here, had a very positive outcome. He is a survivor. And as we go through some of these things, we might well up pain in others that did not have that positive outcome. And so we want to acknowledge that pain because it is real. And sometimes when we do this presentation, we have talked with many people, and I've given out many hugs, we both have, about people who have done CPR on a family member and they have not survived. And unfortunately, that is most typical. And it's part of what we want to do with this is to give everybody the tools that they would need in case they are a bystander in this situation. As you're looking at that chart, you look at a sudden cardiac arrest victim is unresponsive. If Jim would have been a robot that day when we were talking, it's like somebody reached in and pulled out his battery pack. Animated one moment, unresponsive, and at this point, dead the next moment. You see that second bullet point, it says not breathing normally. The reason that it's on there, he wasn't breathing at all. There was no breathing, but the reason that not breathing normally is on there is because for some people, the bottom part of their heart is still kind of jiggling and it's not beating normally. It's not a life-sustaining heartbeat, but they then look like a fish out of water who's trying to gasp for breath. So that's why that's on there. In his case, he wasn't breathing normally. His heart had stopped. There was no pulse. And the only thing you can do for those people is you as the bystander need to start CPR. And if there's an AED available, you need to do that. Of course, you need to call 911, which we'll talk about. And I also want to note that sometimes a heart attack can turn into sudden cardiac arrest. But if they're having a heart attack and they're responsive and breathing, you get them to the hospital. If they are unresponsive, not breathing, and their heart has stopped beating, then you have to step in. For a heart attack, they call it the golden hour, because if they're starting to have these symptoms, which, and Jim, you can jump in here, arm pain, chest pain, shortness of breath, sweating, those kind of things. I know for women, it's a little bit different.
Sweet back pain.
Yeah, a lot of back pain for women, those kind of things. It's the golden hour because it's like the stroke, those golden 3 hours. The medical research community has a lot of clot busting drugs, other drugs that they can give to mitigate the effects of a heart attack, if you can get them in there in that golden hour. So the best thing you or I or anybody who is non-medically trained can do is call 911 and get them to the hospital. But with a sudden cardiac arrest, it's called the golden 10 minutes because it's critical. If you look just at that chart, it says after 4 minutes, brain damage can start occurring. And after 12 minutes, there's a 5% survival rate. This chart and our story underlines the passion that we have for this work. Because every time Jim goes into his cardiologist now after surviving this, his cardiologist tells us there's no medical or scientific reason why you should be here. Because this is his story. He went unconscious, not breathing. My first reaction was I don't think he was eating anything. I wonder if, if he's choking. So I actually hit him on the back and did the Heimlich. There's nothing there. So I pulled him on the ground off the couch and there was no breathing. There was no pulse. I hadn't had CPR for decades, probably since I was in high school. So I'm very thankful for my high school CPR class that had me enough, gave me enough memory that I could start doing something. Well, I gave him 2 breaths and then I started pumping on his chest and then it was like, I got to get help. And so thankfully said a little prayer and my eye fell on his cell phone, which had fallen out of his pocket and was between the seat cushions or the couch cushions. So I took it out, put it on speakerphone, dialed 911, and then kept doing CPR. Those dispatchers, those 911 dispatchers are very well trained. With just a couple of questions, he knew this was sudden cardiac arrest. I didn't know what was happening. And he kept me going with CPR. He did ask me, do you have access to an AED? And I said no. And in retrospect, I know the reason he did, because what we're finding out now is if an AED is used within 1 minute of someone going with sudden cardiac arrest, there's a 90% survival rate. And as you will see later, that survival rate in reality is much less than that. So he kept me doing CPR. I was able to do CPR until the ambulance crew got there. We had great response time. I did CPR for 6 minutes. The ambulance crew got there, and if we would do this training in person, we would tell you more details, but in the consideration of the time that we have and what we're doing, to make a very long story short, they did CPR and used an AED and did shots of adrenaline directly to the heart. Okay. And as you will see later, as you're doing an AED, you do a shock to the heart, which we'll talk about being just like a electrical jolt that goes from one pad to the other through the heart to try to get it to start beating again. They do that every 2 minutes. And the reason they do that every 2 minutes is it takes about 2 minutes for an AED to recharge to get enough power to do it again. And it really literally does look like it does that you see it on TV. It jolts their body and jumps. So in Jim's case, we had 6 minutes with me giving CPR. They did 8 shocks. Okay, so 2 minutes between. So we're talking 16 minutes there. And they did 3 shots of epinephrine. On the 8th time they did a shock, his heart started up again. He was without his own heartbeat for over 25 minutes. When you go back and look at the medical report, based on everything that happened and the time it takes, look at that chart on your screen in front of you. After 12 minutes, the survival rate is 5%. His was over twice that. And so that's why this is a passion of the heart for us.
Just so you know, sudden cardiac arrest can happen to anyone, anytime. It can happen to anyone as young as 4, and it happens to people up into their 80s and 90s. It doesn't discriminate between age, and that's one of the things that makes it scary. And it can happen in public places and private places. There have been some very well-reported episodes because they've been so public. There was a Buffalo Bills football player on, I think it was Monday Night Football, who experienced a sudden cardiac arrest on the field. And they had to rush out and they had to do CPR and they took him out by ambulance. There's been some other ones as well. So those are the things you need to think about. Now, Terry talked about the 12 minutes. Also take a look at the 4 minutes that are on there. And again, the brain damage that can occur if we're not doing things very quickly, even within that 4-minute piece. Now, sudden cardiac arrest, that sudden stopping of the heart, happens to 1,000 people a day in our country out of hospital. It happens much more in hospital, but out of hospital, 1,000 people a day. Of those, only 1 in 10 survive to the hospital. So the survival rate is not great. If you look at stroke victims, especially with what they're coming up with medically, if we can get them to the hospital in time, their survival rate is much greater. Heart attack victims to the hospital in time, their survival rate is much greater. Sudden cardiac arrest, we're at 1 in 10. So we wanted to just share with you what Minnesota has. And this is from 2023, what we're looking at for numbers here. In 2023, 3,454 happened. So again, pretty close to that 1,000 a day is what you're looking at right here in Minnesota. And you take a look at, 100 a day, yeah, 10 per day. 10 per day in Minnesota is basically what it comes down to. Sudden cardiac arrest location, 72% were at home. Many of them happen at home. Many of them sadly happen when people are sleeping. So that's why the survival rate isn't that great. 40% of them, though, were witnessed by a bystander. Of that 40% who witnessed it, only 38% of those people started CPR. The rest of the people froze, were scared. They didn't feel like they knew what to do. So that's why our mission is so important, to try to equip people to feel comfortable to do CPR. Public AED use, only 9%. Now, there may not have been AEDs available, but even then, many people, like Terry said, she shared the number nationally, only 1 in 10 will use one if one is available. People are afraid of them. So again, part of our mission, give people a chance to use a trainer AED. That's what we're out there doing, is training people on hands-only CPR and AED. You don't do breaths anymore, because Terry didn't really talk about this. The 911 operator told her he's taken his last breath. He has oxygen in his lungs. You need to move that through. So that's why it's so important that you do that. Again, if you look at the survival rate, then 28% of the people, of those 3,454, 28% were admitted to the hospital, but only 12% of the 3,454 walked out the doors of the hospital. I'm one of those 12%, not from that year, but from the previous year. Okay, and that's pretty much, if you take a look statewide over time, the state survival rate is about 10%. The national survival rate is 9%. As our cardiologist tells us, I should not be here. And again, like Terry said, that's why this is our passion.
This is a sudden cardiac arrest chain of survival. And you and I and all of us that are out in the public are the critical first links. If we see an out of hospital cardiac arrest, we need to recognize what's happening. We need to call for help. We need to start CPR. And if there's an AED there, we need to use it. Okay? That is, and that's what our mission is. You know, you look at the rest, you got, you know, advanced emergency medical services and then advanced cardiac support hospitals. We're blessed in the state of Minnesota have many cardiac support hospitals around us that can deal with that advanced care afterwards. But the first three links are critical to survival, and that's what we're focusing on. Which brings us to our second mission. The second mission of HeartStrong Monticello and of the Heart Safe Community designation is to provide trainings like this. And we do most of this is the first online one we've done. So we do them in person where people are getting to practice CPR, where they're getting to practice using trainer AEDs. We've had very generous community people that have donated money so that we can have all the equipment that we need. And so we are working, there we go, on that. What we're going to look at right now is we're going to work on recognizing sudden cardiac arrest and then starting the CPR. So if you bear with me a moment, I'm just going to move this table into view here. Making sure that we can see everything okay.
I think you're good.
If not, let us know. Okay. What we do is we have these what we call mini Annies. They're inflatable. You'll notice he doesn't have any arms or legs, but he does have a chest. And if you listen very carefully, you should be able to hear this click. Here we go. That is an indication that I am doing compressions deep enough. So in recognizing sudden cardiac arrest, oops, I need to do that. We practice with people, and I'm just going to give you a demonstration. And then when I get done, we're just going to have you practice for 1 minute just on a tabletop in front of you, getting the beat for how to do that. But we practice that. We're having a conversation with, you know, our mini Annie, and mini Annie just goes down just like Jim did. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is, if you remember that list, I'm going to see if he's responsive. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to say, hey, are you okay? To see if he responds to me. Well, I've done this many times and he's never responded to me, so we're just going to keep going. That's a little joke. So no response. But just because he doesn't respond doesn't mean that he's suffering sudden cardiac arrest. So the next thing we have to do is see if he's breathing. Easiest way to do that is put our cheek and our ear above the nose and mouth, our eyes facing the chest. That way I can hear breathing with my ear. I can feel breathing with my cheek. I can see breathing, the chest going up and down with my eyes. Again, he's not breathing. But just because he's not breathing doesn't mean sudden cardiac arrest. Remember, there's got to be no life-sustaining heartbeat. So I'm going to check the pulse. And if you know how to check a pulse, don't use your thumb because you have a pulse, your own pulse in there. You use these two fingers. You put them next to kind of where your Adam's apple is lightly, and you should feel the pulse of your heart. I'm going to do that there. He has no pulse. So I know I need help. I need to do something and I need to get help. So first thing I'm going to do is, if I'm alone, I'm going to go call 911. If there's somebody with me or a group with me, I'm going to designate somebody and say, you call 911. Because what they found is that if there's a group of people and you just say, somebody call 911, people think other people have done it. And so you've got to designate who it is. And then you're going to start CPR. Okay. These Annies are nice because they have this kind of a oval shape here, but you're going to do CPR in the center of the chest, right in between the nipple line. So there's no, when you're doing CPR, you're ripping the shirt off. If it's a woman, you're ripping the bra off. There's no modesty. Modesty goes out the window, and you're going to be using your hands one over the other. You can interlock them like this or not, however you want to do that. You're going to be getting, you're usually on the floor. Okay, so, but I'm doing this up high. You're going to be getting your shoulders up and over the body. So you're going to be using your whole body weight, and you're going to be doing it for at a pulse, a pace of about 120 beats a minute. So it's going to be like this. Okay, they always say that you should do it so that you're getting about a third of their body width down, and you're doing it for that time period. If there's other people with you, you can switch off because it does get tiring. So what I want you to do, just for this, for the sake of just building muscle memory, that we haven't done a full training with you, but God forbid that, you know, you go out and within the next week or two, you have to do this. I want you to just go over a table, get your hands over a table, and we're just going to do it at that rate for 1 minute. Jim's going to play the iconic song, Staying Alive. How we do it?
That's what, there's no breaths anymore.
Yeah, and there's no breaths anymore. Jim kind of stated that before. The reason there's no breaths is because EMTs and those coming in will give oxygen, but what they say for us is that keep that oxygen they had flowing, because every time I stop CPR compressions and do breaths, it takes me 25 to 30 compressions to get the blood flowing at the same level again. Okay, at that same speed. Okay, so we're just going to do it for 1 minute. So get yourself set on the tabletop. Jim will start the music here. Ready?
You didn't know you were going to have an interactive Zoom presentation, that you do some things.
There you
Okay,
go.
so
Good, here you go. So we're ready. As soon as the music starts, we'll go for 1 minute.
20 seconds left. Time.
Hey, so just even remembering, he goes down. Hey, are you okay? No response. Check for breathing with your ear, with your cheek, with your eyes. No breathing. Check for pulse. No pulse. You call 911 and then you start the Staying Alive song as you're doing that. Okay, Jim.
So my guess is you got tired. She did that for 6 minutes before the EMTs arrived. People look at her and say, how'd you do that for 6 minutes? And, you know, adrenaline does a lot of things. It is work, though. That's why if you have somebody with you to be able to trade off with, that's great. If you don't, just you got to keep going until the EMTs arrive. Okay? You do have to go deep. Just so you know, when I got done, now they used a different device. The EMTs used a different device on me, something called the Lucas device. I had a broken sternum or a cracked sternum, and I had broken ribs. My general practitioner doctor tells me when he does CPR on somebody, if he doesn't break ribs, he hasn't done it deep enough. You're going to hear some really ugly sounds when you start CPR on somebody. But here's the thing. You can't hurt them. They can't be more dead than dead. So just kind of keep that in mind as you think about that, you know, going forward. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is the rapid defibrillation piece of it. Okay. So Terry talked about the breathing. How do we get the blood moving and things like that? But we got to restart the heart. CPR by itself is probably not going to restart the heart. It's going to keep the blood moving, but it's not going to restart. So we've got to figure out how to do that. We talked about earlier, it's an electrical issue. Okay. So how does one work? Okay. It is, think about your car. If you have an electrical issue with your car, chances are you're going to jump your car because you're going to send an electrical shock through that. That's what we're going to do here as well. So here's our Annie again. Okay. Now we have trainer AEDs, and I know they're hard to see from where you are, but they look like this. What you have to remember is that these devices are pretty smart, and they're going to tell you what you need to do. They will not shock somebody who doesn't need to be shocked. You'll only shock them if they need to. And it talks to you. So before I go through all this, I'm just going to, you guys, again, won't have a chance to do this, but I'm going to turn this on and we'll listen to what it says, and it will walk me through what I need to do. So hopefully you can hear this okay.
Remove pads from package and apply to patient's bare chest.
They're going to take the pads and they're going to apply it to the chest. The pads will have pictures on.
Apply pads to patient's bare chest as shown in the picture. Plug in pads connector.
So there will be pictures on the pads that tell you where to go. One of them goes.
Plug-in connector.
One of them goes upper left, up here, and the other one goes on the same side as the heart. So on the, I'm sorry, upper right, and then on the left side.
Apply pad. Plug-in connector.
We're doing that.
Yep, we're doing that. So upper right, and then on the side, same side as the heart, and then we plug it in.
Apply pad. Insert connector firmly.
Again,
Do not touch the patient. Analyzing heart rhythm.
It's going to analyze and it's going to decide
Do not
whether
touch the patient.
whether you need
Analyzing heart rhythm.
whether you need to shock or not.
Shock advised. Charging. Stay clear of patient. Deliver shock now. Press shock delivered. Start CPR.
So let's walk through that again. You had a chance to kind of see it. It's going to tell you what to do. It shows you where to place the two pads. It will check to see if somebody needs a shock. It will tell you to stay away from the patient as it's analyzing them because it doesn't want to pick up anything that you're doing. It's analyzing that heartbeat of that patient. And then if it says that it needs a shock, it's going to say, stay clear. You need to take that very seriously. And you need to tell everybody around you to stay clear. So let's say that there's a group of you around there and there's been a couple of you doing CPR. And so what happens is it says, stay clear. What the medical professionals tell us is be very animated about it. Stand up, step back and say, everybody get back, stay clear. Because when you deliver that shock, when you push the button, and it will tell you when to push the button, if you're touching that body, you will also get the shock. So you have to be very careful with that. And then what it tells you to do is if the heart did not restart, it tells you have to go back and you have to start doing CPR again. Because you have to do CPR while this recharges. And if you remember what Terry said earlier, it takes about 2 minutes to recharge one of these. Every one of these you see will look different than another one. But the thing that's basically the same about all of them is there is a start button and it will talk you through. The newer ones that are out there actually have a video screen, so they talk to you and show you what to do. If you buy one of these new, they're about $2,000. You can get one for one that's going to be in a building or something like that. You can do it for about $2,000. So what we talked about here, very important, the CPR and doing the AED. You do not need to be afraid of these. You cannot hurt somebody who has a heartbeat. It will not deliver the shock. You can save a life. And it's very simple, 3 things. Call 911 to get help. Get those professionals coming as soon as you can. While you're waiting for them, push down on the chest. Okay? You will triple the chance of survival if you do that. And then deliver that shock if there is an AED available. Any of you can do this. People in our community can. But we need to educate them to do it. And we need to make sure that they're comfortable doing this. Probably by the end of this week, we will have trained more than 900 people since the beginning of June. That's 900 people who are better prepared to do this than they were before. You can be one of those people. Like I said, in your community, if you decide this is something that you would like to promote, if you want our help, we're there ready to help you do exactly that. And a couple of things, more than 15% of out-of-hospital cardiac arrests happen in a public location. So there are other people around. 9 in 10 people, sudden cardiac arrest victims who get that shock from an AED in the first minute live. Bystanders who administer CPR only about 80% of the time, and an AED less than 10% of the time. We need to up those numbers. And this training can help us up those numbers. Can you locate the AEDs in your workplace or the other places that you frequent? If you go to your grocery store, when you go to Target, when you go to Walmart, when in your church, wherever you happen to go, can you tell us where that AED is? And does it function? Or was it installed 7 years ago and nobody's looked at it since? Those are the things we have to think about if we're going to make a difference in all of this. Now, we were at a training recently and somebody talked to us about somebody who died. As a group of people stood around and watched, and as some people started to step in and do something, other people said to them, don't do anything. You're going to get sued. You cannot get sued in the state of Minnesota and in many different states because of our Good Samaritan laws. If you are doing, conscientious acts in the best interest of the people who are there, in good conscience, you cannot be sued. You are protected, and that includes the use of an AED that's going to deliver a shock. If you break somebody's ribs, they cannot sue you. And believe me, if they live, they're not going to be upset with you because you took the action that you needed to take.
To kind of finish up here before we go into the last little part, if you would do a full training, everybody would have their own everybody would have their own AED trainer. You would be going through scenarios on this. It would be much more in depth. You get a bit better picture of how it all works and how the AED and CPR work together. So we want to encourage that. But the biggest thing, and the other thing, because of a time constraints here, I'm not going to completely finish Jim's story and all the details, but when he did leave our house with the ambulance after it took over 25 minutes to restart his heart, both ears were as blue as blueberries up to about here. Doctors didn't expect him to regain consciousness, and if he did regain consciousness, he would have a lot of probably have a lot of neurological damage. Like I said, I will do this very quickly. They put him in an induced coma for 48 hours. They lowered his body temperature about 2.5 to 3 degrees, and they did that with the intent of reducing the swelling on the brain because he had been without his own heartbeat for so long. And the day that they were going to take him out of it, then that's our timer going off there, so we know we're right at our end time. The day they were going to take him out of it, they told us they were going to start warming him up, and it could take 12 to 14 hours for him to regain consciousness if he did. And we won't go into this, but miraculously, it only took a half an hour before they came and got my 4 kids and I to say that he had regained consciousness and we could talk with him. There was a lot of healing that took place after that and everything like that. But the reason this is such a mission of the heart for us is, yes, we had a positive outcome, but more important than that, at least I could tell all 4 of our adult children when they met me at the hospital that I did everything I could. I did everything I could. We didn't know that he was going to survive. We didn't even think he would survive. But that's what we want to give people that we train. We want to give you the skills to say, we did everything we could.
Right, the last piece that I just want to talk about very, very briefly is one of the things that we're trying to do is increase the accessibility of AEDs in our community. And if we're going to increase accessibility, we need to know where they are. And so one of the things any of you can do is there is an app out there that works everywhere. It's called Pulse Point AED. We were visiting last fall in Scottsdale, Arizona with Terry's sister and her husband, and I pulled out this app to see it in Scottsdale, Arizona. I found 70 some AEDs. So this works everywhere. And you can map them in your own community. And you can either go, and look download it from Google Play or go to your Apple App Store. Download, it's the yellow one. There's another one that's red. You want the yellow one, Pulse Point AED. And you can put it in here. Anybody can do this. When we started in Monticello, we had 4 of them on the map. We are now up to 38 on the map that we have put in. So then people can find them because they want AEDs where people live, work, and play. We've also worked with community organizations to put more in. It costs about $8,000 for an outdoor AED because you have to have a special cabinet that's heated and cooled. And we have 4 of them going into our community this spring in parks where people congregate. So that's what we're trying to do, trying to help our community become safer, helping equip people. If you want to learn more about us, there's our website. You can take a look there. You can also just email us at heartstrongmonticello@gmail. We keep it very simple, heartstrongmonticello@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook presence. If you look up just Heartstrong Monticello, you can find us on Facebook. And if anybody's interested in learning more or having us come to a training, we'd be happy to do that. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you today. I know we went a little bit over, but our 45-minute time period, but just does anybody have any questions? Thank you, everybody. I know you've been doing some important work already. I want to thank you for the opportunity. Terry and I appreciate the chance. Like Terry said, it is truly a passion of the heart. And that's not just a pun. It's a real thing for us. It is a passion of the heart. And hopefully what you learned here today can make a difference in your community as well if you feel that this is something that you want to pursue.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Terry and Jim.
We'll take a quick picture real quick. Sorry. Before we go off of here.
This is our first virtual one.
Yeah, we've never done a virtual
So
one.
smile and be happy, right?
Thanks, everybody.
If anybody had
Jim
come on
was,
and
Jim
didn't have,
was my boss. He was the superintendent of Monticello schools when I worked there. And he's
Wow.
the same age as me. He's 60 years old. And it happened, so he's in his late 50s when that happened to him. And his wife is a teacher over in St. Michael.
That training was amazing.
They came and did the full training in Monticello. I wasn't able to attend, but it was really good. And so like they will do that for free. So
Yeah.
it's worthwhile if you have your chapter or district is interested in having them come out to do the training.
Coon Rapids has Brian Platts, and Coon Rapids is designated as a heart-safe community too. So that's something we've talked about doing, is having Brian come in.
I'm also an instructor, so.
Yeah.
Nice. Good to go?
There we go.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
thank you guys for
Thank you.
joining.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. You too. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.